Bloodwolf Arts Studio. Unleash the artist within.
Welcome to Bloodwolf Arts Studio, and I'm your host, Mr. Moonlight. Today I'm talking about my latest read, a poem titled Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. Now, this one was written in 1829 when Poe was about 20 years old. Now, this one wasn't actually published till long after he was gone, so this one was posted posthumously in 1875. And a little bit of the background and inspiration for this poem was that, so to start with, Edgar Allan Poe had an interesting childhood. When he was I think it was about 1 year old, then his birth father abandoned their family, and his birth mother died of tuberculosis when he was 2 years old, and Edgar Allan Poe ended up going into the foster care system, or, a foster home for whatever it was at the time. And then also around the same time, it was a year after his father abandoned him, and I believe it was after his birth mother died, then his birth father also died of, I think it said there was, it seemed like there wasn't anything definite I found, but it was like most likely died of cholera. And so here he is, he's only 2 years old, he's already lost both of his parents, first abandoned by his father, and then his mother dies, and then his father dies right after. So that's quite an interesting, tragic start to his life already, very full of ups and downs. So here he is, he goes into a foster family. So Poe was the name he got from his birth family, the last name, and then Allan was the name he got from his foster family. And this poem in particular was written after his foster mother died. At the time, then, Edgar Allan Poe had run off to join the army, and so he was there for a while, like a couple years, and then upon hearing the news from his foster father, his adopted father, that his mother had passed away, then there was a bit of things going on there. There was actually quite a few things going on, but suffice it to say that he ended up coming home because he wanted to go to the funeral. It was the only mother he ever really knew. He essentially never really got to know his birth family, birth parents. And given how Edgar Allan Poe was, and his adopted father, it's like they didn't really have much of a relationship. It's like his father had different ideas for him of where he wanted his life to go, and that ended up being a point of estrangement for them. It's like he supported him in a lot of different ways, like financially, but they didn't ever really see eye to eye. And then when Edgar Allan Poe came home from the army to attend the funeral, he ended up getting back too late, and he missed the funeral. And it ended up being like this grieving point where it was like a temporary kind of reconciliation between him and his adopted father, but it didn't really mend anything, and he had that issue with a paternal figure not really having that relationship with his own dad. And this poem was written shortly after his foster mother died, and the poem really reflected a lot of his own acknowledgments of his unique way of seeing life, and almost like coming into an acceptance and almost a romanticizing aspect of saying, my entire life I've been alone, and I'm a very unique person. It's like he has a very, a different way he sees the world that actually inspires his greatest work. And there's like an acknowledgement in this poem about how like his life is so tragic, but that just seems to be his fate, and it also is one of the reasons why he is as good as he is about what he does. Like, he's like, well, maybe I'm just kind of supposed to be alone. It's been that way my whole life, and and at the same time, it's where I get my greatest inspiration and his unique way of seeing the world. And obviously it different enough that years and years later, it's like we're still reading his works and everything. But this poem is really going into the depth of his own feeling of aloneness in the world, and the passing of his foster mother really just kind of pushed him to really explore that deep emotion, and it ended up, of course, creating more great and inspiring art that explores those deep depths, and is one of the things that Poe was really known for. And he was 20 years old at the time when he wrote this, or thereabouts, and it was just one of those works relatively early in his life that really continued to cement the theme of his poem. It's like his whole life is like this tragedy, but it continues to inspire this really dark perspective he has on life. And this poem is just a lot about exploring that, acknowledging how different he is, and ultimately this resignation of acceptance that this is actually one of the sources of his greatest inspiration, and the reason why he's able to create the great works that inspires people the way that they do, and the way that he does, and the way that he connects to that very differently. And there's a lot of ownership of, this is how I see the world, and I accept that, and acknowledging that part of that great gift and that inspiration just so happens to be, it appears, that I am alone. So this was a really interesting poem to dive into. I learned a lot of interesting things about Edgar Allan Poe here. So this poem will be right after this short video introduction. So remember to like my video, follow me on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok as Mr. Moonlight Rhyme, and the other platforms as Blood Wolf Art Studio. And so stay tuned for that poem reading. It'll be right after here. And so thank you for tuning in, and welcome to my side of the moon.
Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. From childhood's hour I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone. And all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form when the rest of heaven was blue of a demon in my view.